Today we're going to be learning how to transfer a design onto fabric using some of this lovely vellum paper. It's a permanent method and it's what I recommend in my book, Colourful Fun Embroidery. I love this permanent method, it's really easy to use. In the pack you get 10 sheets plus an instruction sheet, but today I'll be talking you through it so you can see what I'm doing step by step. Okay, I'm going to be using two pens. The first is by Sublime Stitching. It's a fine tip transfer pen and it's really super fine, so it's great for lots of detailed work. The other is a Prym transfer pen. It's slightly thicker, purple ink, and it's slightly cheaper. You can find both of them in my haberdashery. So today we're going to be transferring this little yay design, which is one from my book, Colourful Fun Embroidery. So secure it down on a flat surface with some washi tape and then take your vellum paper and place it over the top. You can see the design through nice and clearly, but what we want to do is just secure that in place. I'm doing that at the side here because I'm going to use the paper twice to show you the two different pens today. Okay, let's start with the Prym pen. It's got a thicker nib in comparison to the Sublime Stitching pen. It writes in purple ink. And basically all you need to do is trace very carefully over your pattern. Hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing in a second. So you'll see that I'm just drawing really nice and carefully over the lines of the lettering. There we go. It's quite thick when it comes out. You can see it if I lift it up there. Try not to move your design too much. I'm only just doing that so that you can see that for today. Now, with the permanent method, whichever pen you use, you need to remember that any mark that you make on the vellum paper will be transferred to the fabric. So if it's a mistake, it will get transferred. Now, obviously, if you can stitch over that, then it's not a problem, but really take your time when it comes to transferring these designs, because it'll be really worth it. I find that the Prym pen works better for me if I'm just freehand. Sometimes I use a ruler, but I just personally end up smudging this pen, so I usually use the Prym pen freehand. Okay, so there we have it. That lovely purple ink has been transferred onto the paper. I'll just move it up a little bit. Get this in position again, stick it down nice and securely, and then trace it with our next pen. So I'm going to use a ruler for this and a Sublime Stitching pen. I love the Prym pen, but I really love the Sublime Stitching ones. I've been using these for a really long time, and the pens last a really long time as well. They are really great for that extra fine line. I think I said earlier that the Prym pen is slightly cheaper, but these are an excellent investment if you want to make sure that you've got a great tool for transferring any design onto fabric. I'm using a ruler here just to show you kind of how you can get it sort of really precision. You get those fine lines. And I find this easier because I think that because it's a finer pen, it feels to me like the ink dries slightly quicker, so you can move your ruler along and not smudge it. I'm using a technique that I learnt in my DT class at school, turning that ruler upside down so that you can bend it with that beveled edge there. So I'm really taking my time. This is quite a small pattern, but as you can see, I'm just taking a lot of care to trace over it, making sure that I've got all of those details in. I know you can see lots of my hand here. It's quite hard to be able to get the camera in the right position so that I don't knock it. But hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Just tracing it nice and carefully. And like I said earlier, remember that when you're using this paper, any mark that you make on the paper will then be ironed onto the fabric. So just take your time. It doesn't matter if you feel like you're going at a snail's pace. That's much better than making lots of mistakes. So I'm nearly done. I'm just going to quickly draw those last lines in because you can use these without a ruler. You can, it's absolutely fine. So there we go. That's the Sublime stitching pen. I'm going to take the tape off. You might want to leave it on just to remember which side you have drawn on, and I'll explain that in a second. There we go. The two different pens, and we're basically ready to transfer this onto the fabric so that you can see how it all works. So I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to move down to my kitchen because my ironing board is there. Okay, so what I've done is I've found a nice flat tea towel, and what I mean by that is it hasn't got any lumps or bumps on it, it's literally just a piece of fabric. Place it on your ironing board and then place the fabric that you want to transfer your design onto on top of that. Now here's the vellum. We're going to transfer the Prym pen design first so that you can see what that looks like. I stuck my washi tape to the top because it's really important that the side that you trace on goes onto the fabric so that when you put the heat on the other side it will transfer. So take that tape off, which is easier said than done, while you're trying to film. And there we go. So that's where I'm going to transfer this design with the first pen here. Now you need a very cool iron, and I always advise that you test on the side here. You can see that it's still nice and flat. It has curled a little bit because of the heat, and that's normal. But if you get any bubbles or popping, that means that your iron is far too hot and you need to let it cool a little bit. I've basically got it on a setting here with no steam at all, and it's just over 1 dot on the coolest setting. Okay, so somewhere between 1 and 2 dots on your iron. I would always say go for the cooler end. So what I'm doing now is I'm just ironing over the top. You can see that I'm keeping the iron moving at all times, except when I try and lift it up. Trying to show you what it looks like so that you can see. You basically iron over it until you feel like enough of the design is transferred onto the fabric. And there we go. It's a lovely vibrant colour, that one. So if you want something that you can see it really quite darkly, is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, very clearly is probably the word I'm looking for. Then that Prym pen is a good one. So the next one, we're now ironing over the Sublime stitching pen. Now I'm using the black pen. It's also available in green and red, which I currently have on my website, and also in blue. At time of recording I'm still waiting for those, but all of the colours are wonderful. This, when you iron it on, when you see in a minute, it will look a lot paler than the Prym pen. But it will also look, you'll get a much sort of crisper, finer line. So there we go, I've just done the same, kept my iron moving, and it's now transferred onto the fabric permanently. So you see the difference in the colours and the thickness of the lines there. Now I've come back upstairs because I forgot to show you when I was recording downstairs the vellum at the end. You can see that there's still a lot of life in this vellum paper. You can transfer it 2 to 3 times. It just depends on how you've drawn on it. So great to be able to use it again. We're ready to stitch. All of the pens and vellum paper that you've seen in today's tutorial are available to purchase from the Hello Hooray haberdashery, along with lots of other lovely colourful stitchy goodies and my book, Colourful Fun Embroidery. Visit hellohooray.com/shop to find out more. I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. Thanks for watching.